Hey everyone, so today we're looking at the world of intervals. Now a really quick and simple explanation is that let's say you're playing your instrument, a guitar, or you're playing a piano, something like that, and you're playing one note, okay? So that one note is carrying on and you want to play some more notes on top of that one note that you're playing. So whenever you've got more than one note or one tone playing at the same time, they're called intervals, and there's intervals going on. You can have intervals above the first note that you're playing, intervals below, intervals mixed in like a chord or something like that, but that's what intervals are. And really, once you start hearing the different interval difference and you start sort of learning your instrument and you learn what notes you're actually playing as opposed to just where your fingers are going, it's really, really important, but the sky's the limit. Just imagine like a film composer, okay? A film composer knows that these series of intervals works with these, series of tempos and these sorts of feels are going to make people cry or going to make people angry. That's how powerful intervals are. Don't think that composers, composing for huge, big budget film scores don't know the interval difference that's going on and don't know exactly the sounds that they make and what emotions that, that make people think or make people feel that way. Intervals are a very, very powerful thing, and we're going to look today at the intervals in the one octave, and we're going to look at a really good way of how to remember each interval going up, okay? And part two, we'll be looking at intervals going down, but for now, really important that we look at intervals within the first octave. Here we go. Now, I reckon the best way to work out intervals, and I've done it for years and years, and sooner or later, it sticks into your head, but I think it's still a really good way to write it down. So grab a pen and paper. A great way of remembering intervals is to write what I've written up here, okay? So you've got C, and then we've written all the different interval names from C up an octave to C. So we've gone semitone all the way up, okay? Now if you don't understand tones and semitones, check out this other video because that will really, really help you understand this video, okay? So you've written up all the semitones from C, an octave higher up to C, okay? We've chosen sharps in this example, but you could use flats, that's fine. You just have to remember there's no sharps or flats between E and F or between B and C. Now let's have a look at our first one. So first interval is the perfect unison. Now all that means is, let's say you've got a note playing, one particular note, any note at all, could be any note. Let's have a look at C, okay? So we've got a C note playing, and now on top of that C note, you've got another C note playing. It's within the same octave, so it's not super high, it's not super low, it's within the same octave range, and you've got a C playing over a C, okay? Now, depending on what instrument you're playing, you could still hear a different tone, okay? So if you're playing on guitar, for example, different strings, and different sort of pickups and where you play things are going to make the tone sort of vary. So you could be playing the same note in the same octave, but it could actually be on a different string. So it'll be a little bit of a tone, but that's what a perfect unison is, okay? You've got the same note played twice, okay? So if you can imagine this one note is playing and you've got the same note. It's not higher or lower, it's the same pitch. It might sound a little bit different, it might have a little bit of a different tone, but it's at the same level. Easy. That's perfect unison. All right, here we go. Here's the perfect unison, a C note. I'll play it to begin with. Then another C note on top of that note, and then together. Now, into the fun stuff. So now we're going to have a look at the minor second, and going up, the next interval is a semitone up. So for example, if you have a look at what you've written up, a C to a C sharp, that's a minor second, okay? So that's the first interval that we're looking at. Now remember, it could be C sharp, could be D flat, they're the same note, doesn't matter, okay? So played together, it can sound quite dissonant, so definitely have a go of playing C and C sharp, or just two notes next to each other. Now, you can imagine, because it's a semitone up, it's just one fret away. And that minor second, the best way to remember it, I reckon, is thinking of the theme from Jaws, okay? And now we'll listen to that. Here we go. Now here's a minor second. Now the next interval we're going to look at is a major second. Now all that this is two semitones up. So a minor second was one semitone up, C to C sharp. Major second is two semitones, so you move up again from C sharp to D. So a major second up from C is going to be D. And a great way of remembering that is Happy Birthday. The first two notes of Happy Birthday. Let's listen to that. Now it's time for a major second. C and D. Still a little bit of dissonance there. Now have a look at the notes that we've done. So first, semitone away from C was a minor second. Semitone up again is a major second. Semitone up again, 3 semitones, is a minor third. And a great way of remembering this is thinking of Greensleeves or thinking of O Canada. So a really good way to remember that is either of those two songs. But have a listen to yourself to the intervals, play them together, play them apart, and then see, is there any songs that you can think of that the lyrics come to mind or the melody comes to mind that uses that minor third interval? Minor third. The next interval up from the minor third is a major third. Okay, now it's just one semitone again going up, and it's really important that you understand how we're doing it, and hopefully you've written this down because it'll really help sort of make sense of it all. So a major third, a great way of remembering how to remember a major third is have yourself a merry little Christmas. Major third. How bright and chimey and how well those notes work together. So quick recap, 1 semitone is a minor second, 2 is a major second, then we go up again to a minor third, then up to a major third, then the next after that is a perfect fourth. That's the interval. So in terms of doing it from C, it's C to F. That is a perfect fourth. Now a great way of remembering the perfect fourth interval is to think about the song Amazing Grace. Let's have a listen to that interval now. Perfect fourth. Now the next interval that we're looking at, okay, is going to be a augmented or a sharp 4, or you could think of it as a flat 5. So this is a bit of a dissonant interval when played together or played separately. One sort of easy way that I remember this interval and sort of how it sounds is The Simpsons, the start of the Simpsons theme tune. I'm sure many of you have heard this, and this is a good way of remembering that the sharp 4 or the flat 5 interval. Augmented fourth, sharp fourth or flat 5. Now the next interval we're looking at, you probably may have guessed already, is going to be a perfect 5, okay? A perfect fifth from C is C to G. And again, in a lot of chords, you're going to find this interval just like the third, 1, 3, 5. If you've looked at how to make major chords minor or diminished, 1, 3, 5. So the fifth is very, very important. And just for a guitarist point of view, fifth is very important when playing power chords. So 2-finger chords, yeah? So all those power chords, you can think of all those rock bands and Metallica, all those guys play a lot of power chords all the time. And all the notes are, or the interval difference, is you've got your root note, let's say C, and you've got the fifth note above, or the perfect fifth interval above, which is G, 1, 5. That's your perfect fifth, or they're the notes in a power chord. Now the great way of remembering the interval difference in a perfect fifth, or when you hear the root note and then a fifth note heard, is Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, or the Star Wars theme. That's generally how I sort of think of it, as the Star Wars theme. Now let's have a listen to that. Perfect fifth. Those good old power chords, yeah? So just a quick recap, now we're looking at a semitone up from a perfect fifth, and we've got a minor sixth, okay? So just a quick recap. If it's just the same note played at the same time, okay, then you've got a perfect unison. If it's a semitone up, you've got a minor second, major second, minor third. Semitone up from a minor third is a major third. Then you've got a perfect fourth. Then you've got a sharp fourth or a flat 5. Then you've got a perfect fifth. Semitone up from a perfect fifth is a minor sixth, and that's what we're looking at now. So a minor sixth up from C is going to be G sharp or A flat. Make sure you're doing this all with a piece of paper. It'll really help to understand it and just to get it stuck in your head as well. Now, songs to remember the minor sixth, it's a bit tricky. Maybe you guys know some better ones that I know, but I really use the song Welcome to Carnival or Black Orfeus. That's the starting notes of that song really help me remember the minor sixth. Here's a minor sixth. Now a semitone up from a minor sixth interval, remember the minor sixth in C is G sharp or A flat. Semitone up from that is going to be, of course, A. Good stuff. So a major sixth interval in C is C going up to A. The way that I remember the interval difference, or the way that I hear the interval difference of a major sixth, is to think of My Body Lies Over the Ocean, or you could also think of the A Train. That's another good one. Remember, all of these will be in the description below. Let's hear the interval difference of a major sixth, which is C to A. Major sixth. Now the next interval up from a major sixth is a minor seventh. So a minor seventh up from a C note, in this case, is going to be a flat B. So a B note or a B flat, or you could think of it as an A sharp. Same note, but that's how many semitones it is, and that's a minor seventh. Now the way that I remember the interval difference minor seventh is from the West Side Story song Somewhere. That's how I think of it. Now remember, once you've sort of learnt this interval and once you've been playing it on your instruments, have a listen, see if you can find some other songs that are more relevant to you that use this interval. So that's a minor seventh. Let's hear it. Minor seventh. Together. We're almost there, 2 intervals to go, so well done for hanging on. Good job, guys. Now, if you can remember the minor seventh being B flat or A sharp, what's a semitone up the octave from that? It's B, okay? So a major seventh, in this case in C, is from C up to B. Major 7, so from a C all the way up to a B. Pretty ugly interval, but you can hear it just wants to resolve, yeah? Okay, well done guys, so you've made it all this way through. So the last interval we're looking at is the perfect octave. Now, perfect octave, all that means is we've started with C, okay? We've moved up all these different semitones, as you can see, we've moved up all those semitones, and we're finishing on another C note, okay? So same note, C and C, but it's an octave higher, or you've gone all those semitones up, and that's what's called a perfect octave. You could write it as perfect octave, you could write it as P8, just as long as you know that it's a perfect octave. The perfect octave, a good way to remember it is thinking of I'm Singing in the Rain, okay? Go back and have a listen to that song. Those first couple of notes of the lyrics is the perfect octave. And let's hear that now. So it's going from one C again, you've gone all those different steps up to the other C. Well done guys, you've made it. Let's hear it now. And finally, our perfect octave. And together. Well done guys, you've made it to the end, good job. Now intervals are so important. Once you can sort of start practicing that if you hear the same note then it's going to be a perfect unison. If you hear a semitone up, it sounds a bit like a Jaws theme, a minor second, then up again a major second, minor third, major third, perfect fourth, sharp fourth or flat 5, perfect fifth, minor sixth, major sixth, minor seventh, major seventh, and then the perfect octave again. Once you sort of start memorizing those names and just practicing those intervals, you'd be surprised. You'll be listening to a tune and you'll think, oh, that's a bit of a dissonant sort of melody. It sounds really close. It's a minor second, because when I play those notes on my instrument, it reminds me of Jaws. Once you sort of start putting those notes into references that you understand and you can instantly remember, you'd be surprised how far this sort of stuff will take you. And this theory and this practical theory is really the basis of everything we're going to do, because when we're going to be looking at soloing, or when we're going to be looking at playing all the chords, you know, in particular keys, major and minor, diminished, all that stuff, when we look at doing that stuff, I'm always going to be referring to intervals. So I'm going to say, okay, this chord is made up of a major third, and it's made up of a perfect fifth. And if you didn't watch this video, you're not going to understand. So make sure that all this stuff makes sense. And the best way of practicing this stuff is to do what we've done, to pick a key or to pick an octave that you're going to do it in, to write the first note. So we've done C, write all the way up, going up in semitones till you get up an octave, and just work out the interval difference, okay? Work out what's the minor second, what's the major third, what's the perfect fifth, everything like that. Now we're going to have more videos in more sort of productive ways. I can tell you how to memorize it all, but just writing out for now is really, really good, and just listening to all those examples and trying to find your own examples as well. Well done, guys. It's really important that you've made it through this video. You've done a great job. See you again next time. Bye.